Hey everyone, and welcome to today's session called Thursdays with Sandi. We are so glad that you are here. Just a quick overview of our agenda today. I did want to go ahead and introduce our sponsor, which is Her Title Collective, and I'm going to put this link in the chat box. They are a new national organization for supporting women, especially in the title industry. So you have access to that there. And then again, we are Real Estate Closing Path. We offer training in closing fundamentals. We have our link and access there. And today we are so excited to be in conversation with Cheryl Evans. She is the founder of Wicked Title Forum, and I'm going to put her link in the chat box as well. And then we're going to have a conversation and allow time for any questions or comments at the end. I want to go ahead and introduce Sandi Donaldson. She's our lead trainer here at Real Estate Closing Path. Sandi, I'll let you say hello.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome. We're glad that you're here to join us. And, I like to say if you've been around long enough, then you pick up a few things and you meet a few people. And so that's the only thing that makes me different from anybody else is I've waited it out longer, right?
Yeah. Well, Sandi, you're being very humble about it, but you bring a lot of wit and wisdom and perspective to the conversation here, and just really looking forward to, we kind of have two masterminds in the room because Sandi's been around a while, and then we're so glad to welcome Cheryl Evans. Again, Cheryl's the real estate business strategist and industry advocate with over 25 years of experience in title insurance, real estate transactions, and operational consulting. She is the founder of Wicked Title Forum, an industry resource that helps title professionals cut through the chaos. I love that phrase. Understand what matters and turn industry change into practical action with curated news, plain English training, SOPs, templates, tools, jobs, and searchable operational guidance built specifically for title people. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation today. I think we first met virtually just years ago, and maybe we both were getting started in our different organizations, and it's just exciting to see, where things have landed and how far we've come. And we're really excited to get to know you and your vision with Wicked Title Forum. I know Sandi has some questions for you, and I'm going to let her go ahead and lead the conversation today.
Thank you,
Fantastic.
Janice. Thank you. So, Cheryl, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to start the Wicked Title Forum.
Absolutely. Any chance I can share my screen?
Sure.
I've got a few slides to help tell the story.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love that.
See it? Yeah, go ahead.
If I get the right screen shared, I hope I do. All right. Are you seeing my slide?
We are.
Okay. Fantastic. Good. I've got two screens, so never know if I'm sharing the right one. My story for Wicked Title and my journey through the industry, it all started with a typewriter and a WTF moment. Oops. There we go. So one of the questions that I always get is, am I from Boston? I am not from Boston. That is not where the Wicked part came from. But my grandmother was from Boston. She lived there when I was a kid. And when I went to visit her, one of my favorite things was the pigeons. So I absolutely loved them. And a few years ago, I kept hearing about personal branding and authentic marketing. And, I've been doing marketing and running my own business for decades now. But I thought, hey, let's try this out. Let's see what it's all about. But I didn't want to alter my business corporate branding for my consulting company for this experiment. So I went hunting for a personal domain, something that felt authentically me, and that I could brand for myself. And Cheryl.com was taken, but the domain register coughed up Cheryl.WTF. And I laughed. I didn't even know .WTF was a thing that you could have. But a few minutes later, I was still looking and I hadn't found anything, and I was still chuckling about the Cheryl.WTF. Obviously, it really resonated with me because it kind of sums up my whole career. I take people from those what the moments to wicked transformations. I'm a problem solver, and I've been called a miracle worker for businesses large and small. So I decided to run with it, and I bought Cheryl.WTF. And not too long afterwards, the idea for Wicked Title Forum was born. And the WTF really just kind of made sense. So I took the acronym, applied words that made sense for the industry. And that's how I got the name Wicked Title Forum, because I really have set out to help people with those WTF moments.
Well, explain a little bit more about exactly what services somebody could take advantage of.
Sure. So I'm really trying to bridge the information gap in the industry. There is tons of knowledge out there. There's lots of webinars and articles and blog posts and underwriters you can call, but it's really very scattered. And a lot of the knowledge for our industry lives in people's heads. So I'm trying to document that and put it in a place that's searchable, to make it easier to find the answers that you need when you need them. And a lot of the information that's out there, it talks about the what and the why, but it doesn't talk about the how. And so I'm also trying to help fill that gap and talk about how do you do some of these things. And to help bridge the gap between the vendors who are out there solving problems and the title agents who need their problems solved, because sometimes getting that information in front of the right person at the right time can be really challenging.
Right. I love how you said a bridge, because that is so true. The information's there. You just have to know how to work the Dewey Decimal System, right?
Yep.
From way back when, right? Well,
Oh, yeah.
tell us about some of the big changes that you've seen in your career in our industry.
Sure. I think we've come a really, really long way with technology. I think COVID forced us to accelerate that journey at lightning speed, but overall, I think that was a good thing for the industry as a whole. Um, Fraud risks are so much more sophisticated now than they used to be, and they're so much more common. And accelerating that technology curve is only going to help us with fighting that fraud. AI is certainly making huge changes within the industry too. But one of the things that I find really interesting is that the things that haven't changed in the industry as well. Like I mentioned, that information gap that's always existed. The people really haven't changed. And the resistance to change has not gone away. And the struggle to affect that change. Those are all things that we've always dealt with and we always will deal with. So yeah, it's really interesting to see how much changes and how much doesn't.
Well, we talk a lot about how over the course of my career since the early 80s, the what has not really changed, but the how has changed quite a bit.
Absolutely.
So you're right in that, at one point there was no microwave and now there is. So evolve or die, that's kind of where we are. And you mentioned AI. So how do you see that affecting what we do going forward?
I think it's going to play a huge, huge role in how we do the day-to-day work. And I think one of the biggest risk factors that everybody talks about is, data security. But I think the bigger risk factor that we're not talking about enough is if we effectively implement AI as an industry and it becomes the norm in our day-to-day operations, it is going to alter our roles. You know, it's not going to get rid of the humans. We still need humans in AI. I don't think, you know, overall people's careers are at risk, but I do think it may drastically alter those entry-level positions. And the way in which we train people right now, and the way in which we've always trained people in the industry, that hands-on, learn it as you do it kind of process, is not going to continue working when we've implemented AI, because all those early low risk activities that you do now to learn the business, that's going to be done by AI. And so we're going to need a better way to train people to get them over that initial hump, and get them a base level of understanding so that those new entry level positions, they're going to have the information they need in order to do it.
So conceptually, people are still going to need to know, you know, what the process is so that we can be assured that what AI is doing for us is actually making us more productive and not less productive.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the real human value in title is in judgment, not data entry.
Right.
And so the AI is going to be doing that data entry, that repetitive kind of work for us, that admin work. But if you don't understand the admin work, then you can't catch the problems.
I love that about judgment. And you're right, because we already know some of the softwares you can scan in your contract and the AI feature in that software will open your file for you. So,
Yeah.
you know, we've said AI can read the contract, but it can't interpret the contract
Right.
yet. So if you have special SIPs like an escalation clause or something like that, AI is not yet sophisticated enough to know. Now, we don't know what's coming down the road, but as of right now, it still needs, like you said, human judgment. And that's the thing that, you know, you're right in needing to instill upon in our people, and not so much about the mundane tasks
Yeah.
that it can do for us.
Yeah.
What do you think? Go ahead.
You know, you said we don't know what's coming down the pike, and sure, we could see a day where AI is handling some of the low level judgment calls, the things that we all make judgments on day to day pretty commonly. But I don't think it's ever going to be able to handle the complex ones. You know, when I used to run my own title company, I had clients who only brought me their difficult deals. They had their day-to-day title company that they used regularly. And when that title company said, this one can't be closed, they came to me and I'd get it closed for them. And it's because I had that deeper understanding of the laws, the rules, the regulations, the how to, you know, clear those really difficult clouds on title. And, you know, that's really some complex thinking and complex training, that, you know, I don't think AI is going to have, certainly not anytime soon. That's not going anywhere.
It's certainly true that when you get the reputation as the problem solver, then you get all the problems, right? You know, everybody
Yeah.
thinks you're the one that can help me here. So, you know, you're like, great, but bring me some easy deals every once in
Yeah,
a while.
yeah,
Wouldn't it be
absolutely. Would have
nice?
been nice to have some easy deals. But you know, the problem solving was definitely more interesting.
What do you think are some of the biggest challenges that we will face in the foreseeable future in our industry?
Some of the biggest challenges, I mean, obviously fraud. Fraud is, you know, going to continue to be one of the biggest challenges, because it's always evolving and it requires a lot of really specialized knowledge. So that's certainly going to be one of the biggest challenges. And you know, AI and implementing it and figuring out how to do that is definitely another big challenge that's really facing us right now. And that's going to continue to be a challenge as the technology continues to evolve and we continue to trial and error our way through it and what works and what doesn't work. And you know, I think the third big challenge, that we're going to be seeing, we are seeing already, is the fact that we are an aging industry. You know, the vast majority of our talent and our knowledge is locked away inside the heads of people who are not getting any younger. And I think we need to, yeah, I'm certainly not getting any younger here. And we need to do, I think, a better job of recruiting and training the next generation and preparing for that so that we don't lose that knowledge and that experience and that passion. You know, it's a special industry full of really special people. And we need to make sure that we're passing that baton.
How do you think we can capture those younger people and get them interested in being in this business?
You know, I think we need to do a better job of, you know, talking about our industry out there in the community. You know, I think we need to do a better job of marketing to consumers, because the more we market to consumers, obviously the more opportunities we have to capture some of that business, but it also starts making, you know, people more broadly aware of what title is, and that's going to attract talent. Um, and, you know, I think that's an important piece of it is just helping people understand who we are and what we do. Having more forward-looking technology and operations and even business models will also help to attract the next generation. You know, the next generation has a very different view of the workplace. I mean, they watched all of us go home for COVID and still carry on and get the job done. They know that workplaces can be more flexible and still be productive and profitable. And it's reasonable for them to expect that we're going to continue to offer employment that has that kind of flexibility because it's possible. So, you know, I think there's going to be a lot more demand for that.
Well, and if we don't, other industries do. And so
Absolutely.
we'll lose out on some talented people
Yeah.
because of that. I also think, and I'd like to hear you weigh in on this, that there are so many roles in our industry. If somebody says, ugh, I don't want to examine titles all day, you don't have to. There's a lot of other things, a lot of other places for you in this
Yeah.
industry. We have so many, you know, something for every personality. If you're not outgoing, don't be a pre-closer, right? That's probably
Yeah.
not for you because you have to talk to a lot of people.
Yep.
But there are other roles which are more close your door and get the job done, you know.
Yes.
And so there's a place for all different personality types. And I think we might have to do a better job of communicating that for sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the areas that I've been doing a lot of writing on recently. And you know, I'll have some materials coming out later this year around that idea. And yeah, I think we all need to do a better job of communicating that. And I know that's a place that Alta's been very focused on as well. I've been working on a project with them and their marketing team around that as well. So, you know, I won't reveal anymore. That's for them to talk about, but it's something that they're focused on as well.
I think it's good because there are so many younger people now that work well in collaboration, and for them to see that what we do, like you said, you're working on a project with Alta. This is a very collaborative process, you
Yeah.
know, and so we can do a good job or a better job at communicating that. And the whole world doesn't rest on one person's shoulders, which it
Yeah.
has in the past, because you and I have been that person, right? That it
Yeah.
did. What do you see as some of the biggest rewards you've had as far as working in this industry?
Um, you know, I'm not sure a lot of people know this, but I owe my entire career and all the success in my life to this industry. And I have not spent my entire career in this industry. I have been a RevOps consultant for over 25 years. I have worked around the world in dozens of different industries and businesses, from new startups to global corporations. But I got my start in title when I was an 18-year-old single mom, and I had no college degree and I had no future. And if it hadn't been for title, I don't think my life would be anything like it is now.
That's awesome. That there's a reward for you right there.
It
So
certainly
what
is. It gave me a
What would
future,
you,
it gave me success, it gave me respect.
you know, we talk to people all the time because I was in a similar boat, you know. I mean, I started before I had children, but in the end, here I was, a single mom of 2 kids, you know, no formal education, really no degree in anything in particular. But I did have experience with real estate because my dad was a broker and a builder and all of that. And so you see, I think it's great to say this industry built my family, you know, and
Yeah.
so it's good for people to see that there is a place for them, because without, you don't have to have a PhD, you don't have to have a master's degree. I mean, you can, but you don't have to. So I think that's really great to see.
And I'd like to
What
see
would
us
you,
preserve that. You know, I've talked a bit about how we need to change how we train and prepare people for positions in this industry. And I'd like for us to, in that process, be able to hold on to the fact that it is largely an on-the-job training, and you don't have to have a college degree in order to have a very successful career, and that you can be judged based on your skills and your experience rather than a piece of paper.
right? Yeah. I used to tell people what you need is the want to. I'll give you the
Mhm.
how to, you know,
Yes.
but you need the want to yourself. What do you think is the most important thing that you've learned in this industry?
Oh gosh. You know, I think one of the most important things that I have learned is that just about any problem can be solved if you really work at it long enough and hard enough, and that you connect with the right people to get it done.
Correct. What do you see for you and your company for the remainder of this year going forward? What are some things that you have planned?
You know, I think this is a big year. You know, I believe in a business philosophy of continuous improvement. That you should always be looking at your business processes and asking, you know, what is not working as well as it could be, what can be better, and making small incremental improvements. And anyone who has kind of followed my publication over a period of time has definitely seen it evolve. You know, I'm constantly making little tweaks, but I feel like I'm really hitting my stride at this point. I've learned so much in this process, and I've recently just brought on a couple of industry thought leaders to contribute content, and I'm hoping to bring on more. So it's not just what I have to say. I've also just launched a new series in my publication that's called Wicked Trends and Forces, and it's really capitalizing on sort of a unique talent I have. I'm very good at spotting the patterns moving underneath of things, connecting the dots that other people don't see. Um, and so I'm trying to bring that to the forefront and, you know, really talk about where the industry is going and what we can do about it and why things are happening the way they're happening and how they connect. So I've just started publishing that to my paid subscribers, and I'm considering doing a print edition of kind of bundles of those articles. So we'll see if I pull that one off. And I'm hoping to create some more tools and templates and um, you know, frameworks that will be very actionable to help people make changes in their business and do it with the least amount of effort possible.
And that's where everybody wants to be, right? You know,
Yeah.
how can I, you know, we say many, many times, as much fun as this is, we don't do it for free, right?
Yep.
And so, you know, how can we be more efficient and spend more time on activities that generate income instead of busy work?
Yeah,
You know, so,
absolutely. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out, you know, how can I do some of that heavy lift so that, you know, people can take a new idea and implement it in their business with the least amount of effort.
well, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave us with? Anything for us to hang our hat on today?
You know, I think my biggest piece of advice is make sure you keep your finger on the pulse of things, because the industry and the whole world is changing at a very, very rapid pace. And if you don't keep up, you're going to be left behind.
You're exactly right. And things have changed, from the beginning. Well, from what years and years ago to now, things have changed so much. But if you're new, you don't realize how far we've already come. So
Yeah.
this is just the next iteration, right, of what's been the evolution in the industry that's been happening. So does anybody have any questions for Cheryl or anything you would like to discuss further with her at this point?
I am going to go ahead and repost Cheryl's website here. Again, you can stay connected with her at archive.wickedtitleforum.com. You can also find her on LinkedIn. Again, she's on Substack. Cheryl, and I just want to say that I have really appreciated your artistic approach, which I think is really unique and original. Like your branding is just iconic. We can recognize you instantly. So thank you for keeping it fun and yet also providing a lot of depth and substance, that it's not just fluff, but it's kind of the best of both worlds, the inviting, creative, artistic, as well as all the knowledge, that deep knowledge base that you've really created over the last few years. So
thank you, Janice. I appreciate that. That's definitely a cornerstone of what I was trying to accomplish when I launched Wicked Title Forum, because I was looking at a stack of business books on my bookshelf that I had never finished. And I asked myself why, because I didn't want to be them. And I came up with two answers. Either I didn't finish the book because it was so boring, it put me to sleep. Or I didn't finish the book because it had lots of really great ideas, but no clarity around how to execute those ideas. And so I would just get overwhelmed and would put it down and not pick it up again. So, I've definitely tried to present information in a way that is a little bit fun and interesting, at least it's not going to put you to sleep while you're reading it. It's accessible. I try to use very accessible language. I don't need to sound like a lawyer to get my point across. I can. I've been accused of that on occasion, but I don't need to. And also to make sure that I'm providing actionable information.
Yep.
So
that's great. Well, we're going to be excited to see what unfolds and what's ahead for you and what you're building. And is it all right? Can I post your email address in the chat box as well?
Yeah,
if anyone
absolutely.
wants to connect Cheryl directly, it's cheryl.evans at wickedtitleforum.com.
Yeah, I am looking for people to contribute content if that's of interest to anyone. And also, if I ever publish a mistake, please shoot me an email. Let me know so I can correct it. I don't think that I am perfect, but I do strive for perfection.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. I feel like, someone said that recently, where I saw a quote that it's better to do and then figure it out than to think you have to have it all perfect before you ever take that first step. So
absolutely.
kudos to you for having the courage to get it going and to see where it takes you. So again, thank you, Cheryl. I do want to announce that our next Thursday with Sandi conversation will be on Thursday, July 16th, again at 11 a.m. We encourage you to stay in touch with us on social media. We have a presence on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, where we post about other upcoming training events. And if you're interested in kind of a structured approach to training for you and your staff, we offer different monthly workshops. The next round starts July 7th, so it's not too late to join in. And if we can assist with any custom training or a lunch and learn, we'd be happy to provide that as well. So thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Sandi. And we will see you all again in the future.
All right.
Thank you so much,
everybody.
Cheryl.